Hey guys, this is it. The last episode, our final thoughts on Game of Thrones as a franchise as a whole. The documentary, episode 7. More complaining about the how could you screw it all up. Welcome. I want to first thank Stardust app for making these episodes, this whole series possible here on the Angry Joe Show. We were getting claimed a lot by HBO. Luckily, we resolved that, but it really kickstarted these and allowed us to bring these to you quicker, sooner, with some production quality. Huge thanks to Stardust app. Guys, if you enjoyed these, please download the app completely free. Follow us over there. Follow Angry Joe Show. Watch some unique reactions that we have to the episodes and things. Some great video content there. And yeah, check it out. There's poop in my ice cream.
How's it taste?
Disgusting. Like poop. Why is there poop in my ice cream?
How's it taste?
Alex, why is there poop in my ice cream?
Well, we were talking, and I was trying to describe to someone how Game of Thrones for me was kind of like a really great meal. It starts off with amazing appetizers and friends, and then you get into entrees and drinks, and everything's going great. And then you get a nice bowl of ice cream, but there's shit in it. And no matter how good everything else was before, that lingering flavor of shit is there to ruin and undo everything that's happened the earlier in that night. And so Game of Thrones didn't end well for me, and I've got this flavor of shit.
It's perfect analogy for Game of Thrones on a whole. Welcome to Game of Thrones, our final thoughts, episode 7, which is actually a documentary called The Long Night.
The Last Watch.
The Last Watch. The Long Night was episode 3. It was terrible. But no, so The Last Watch. And let me start by saying, even though the taste of shit is just really rank and fresh in my mouth after the travesty and the colossal, you done fucked it up of season 8, I gotta say that documentary really made me want to make clear that I think the crew behind Game of Thrones is one of the most talented crews ever put together on television. This documentary, we see several of them. We see the makeup lady and her family. We see
the set director.
The set director, the guy who's in charge of
Snow.
Yeah.
By the way, Winter showed up for maybe one
needed
episode.
him.
Right,
Yeah.
well, they needed him very rarely after episode 1 and 2. And one of the most awesome guys, Andrew,
Yay.
House Stark. He also fought, I think, for another house at one point. And he's this reoccurring character, and he really makes this documentary for me. You could just see the love and passion that goes into these things. I'm so happy he got on screen multiple times. So yeah, it was just really great seeing all these executive producers, the directors, and the craft behind what we're seeing on screen. And I want to reiterate that Game of Thrones, as a piece of art, as props, cinematography, music, just excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, and just because two guys D&D managed to fuck up the very last season, and that's no disrespect to any of these people who put
the
in
cast.
all
I
this
mean,
hard work.
we didn't mention the cast. The cast of the show, they gave everything. You could see in this documentary like how much it meant to everybody. You see
Kit start crying at the end.
Yeah, Varys' character. The second he reads his last line, he just puts the thing down, puts it over, and he was done. And there was a lot of emotion in that table reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like to see like how much they liked everybody.
Yeah, and but that doesn't, as a critic, it doesn't take away any of my criticisms from Game of Thrones, the way it ended, the way D&D sort of rushed through the ending, and that is quite apparent. On the last episode, when we discussed Season 8, Episode 6, the final episode, I talked about plot holes. Many people asked me, what are you talking about? What plot holes?
There's a bunch.
Are you serious? There's so we could go through plot holes all day long. John killing the Call. So the Dothraki culture, when you kill the Call, you become the Call.
Where'd they go?
The North being an independent nation, while Dorne and the Iron
Yara.
Islands are over here like.
We didn't know that was an option, dude. Was that an option?
It
Yeah.
was an option because that's specifically what Yara was asking for from Daenerys, but suddenly she forgets it. And then all these people picking Bran to be the king, which makes no sense. They've never known this guy. They've never seen this guy.
Only like 2 of the people there actually knew him and his abilities. And they're like, yeah, he's cool. That's fine.
So many different ones that we can fill this up with another 2-hour discussion of all the dumbest things that happened in Season 8. But we're going to use this as an opportunity to discuss Game of Thrones as a franchise. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's structure this in a way where we can easily display it on screen. We're going to go worst, we're going to go mixed, we're going to go great, and we're going to go best. Best of Game of Thrones, like superior television, the best. Okay? 2 seasons within each of these categories. Let's start with the worst seasons. I think we all agree here, but I want to hear them. Erica, what are your 2 worst seasons?
Season 8 and Season 2.
Season 8 and Season 5.
Oh.
And mine are Season 8 and Season 5. I agree. Whoa. All right, so obviously 8. Why?
Because they could have given us an actual good wrap-up to one of the best TV series of all time.
Yeah.
And it was super sad that they didn't.
Yeah, it felt really rushed. Felt like they wanted to get the fuck out.
HBO said that they had 10 seasons if they wanted it. And
You remember when you said episodes? No, it was seasons.
I
Because
thought
you
it
were
was
so
episode.
shocked. Yeah,
I legitimately thought
No.
that HBO was like,
I
no,
think-
you can have it. And they're like, no, we've got this.
We'll do
It's
it in
fine.
7. And HBO's like, 7? You have to do it longer than that. And they're like, all right, we'll tell you we're going to do it in 8, but we're really going to cut Season 7 in half.
Yeah. And then half-ass all of the episodes.
Yeah,
in
rush through
season
everything.
It just feels so awkward that Game of Thrones towards the beginning takes its time.
It
Really
did.
takes its time, and then at the end it just goes 1 episode per extremely important thing with no time whatsoever to deal with the fallout of the last event. And they dick around for 2 episodes of this sort of wrap up. Episode 1 and 2 could have been just 1 episode. It really could have been. And and then given more time for all this other stuff, except for musical
That's
chairs and
one
shit.
of the reasons why I didn't like Season 2 is because the entire thing was a setup season. And I understand that's what you have to do in the start of a TV series. You want to invest in all of your characters. But again, that's something that you could have done in a couple of episodes and not an entire season.
I totally agree with with Season 2. I feel like if I tell somebody to go watch Game of Thrones, I'm like, damn, I hope they make it past Season 2. Because a lot of people will drop off at Season 2. Season 1, great, right?
Yes.
But then Season 2, you have to push yourself through to get to that Season 3. And it goes
But
way
it's worth
up.
it, yeah.
It is worth it. What happened in Season 2 that we thought it was very good?
Freaking A. What
Catelyn is being an idiot.
Yeah,
Oh, the
she's really-
entire
You're
time.
getting a lot
Theon
of...
takes Winterfell.
Right. And
Yeah.
gets knocked in the back of the head. So not only does he
Yeah.
betray, Alstar, but he gets knocked in the back of the head. It's just a little weird.
They're in Karth
They didn't
forever.
really have the budget for all the wars that they were trying to depict between, Robb and the Lannisters.
There was
Oh, yeah,
supposed to
that
be
was
War of
happening.
5 Kings, but there was like 3, and it was...
Yeah. And then we had the fucking Shadow Baby in that season.
Oh, yeah. That was so weird. Apparently, that was one of the first episodes Alex ever watched.
So I didn't watch any of it because I had started to read the books whenever the books came out, and I was like, these aren't my brand of fantasy. I don't think it's like up to where I wanted. And so I was like, I don't want to watch the show, but all my friends said, Abs, come over. We're going to have a bunch of people over. Come watch it. You'll be sold. And then at the end of the
Shadow
smoke,
Baby.
at the end of Shadow
So
Baby,
sad.
they're like, "Please don't judge the whole series by this episode. I'm so sorry."
Was that-
And I'm glad I went back and watched through it. But
I think it's
oh,
a little
man.
better. Blackwater, I think, is one of the better moments.
Well,
in
again,
season
that
four.
was
yeah.
so rushed at the same time.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even mention Tyrion in the book of the Song of Ice and Fire. They didn't mention him, and he was one of the
Central
most relevant characters through everything, especially in Blackwater. That's the
Yeah.
only reasons Lannisters were not sacked at that point.
Yeah.
Tyrion, what are you saying? Tyrion got more
Tyrion-
to do in the show than he did in the book?
Oh, okay. No. The book that they wrote in the very end of the last season, he was not mentioned.
the fake book.
The
Where,
fake book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wrote that fucking book and why did they leave Tyrion out?
Somebody, and then Sam didn't
was
mention.
Like
They
for a
wanted to.
joke?
It was like, "Hey, we're gonna do a joke. Isn't it funny?" It's like, "No, it's stupid, and I
Yeah.
hate you."
You're
And
all-
like,
Didn't make
oh,
any
okay.
fucking sense. Yeah. All right. So that is the worst seasons, and I think a lot of people can agree to 5, 8. But for us, mostly 5 and 8.
So-
Let's go to mixed.
So so for one of the reasons that I think 5. So I think 2 is not very good. I think it's in my mix section.
But
I
not
th-
bad, not worse.
I think 5 is for me one of the worst seasons. It's
All right,
pretty
let's talk
far
about
down there.
5.
So season 5, we get some horrible things happen in season 5. We have an entire several episodes in Dorne. We hit the sand snakes. They're terrible.
They're
Fucked
terrible.
up Dorne.
Yeah.
Dorne is such a cool ass area.
They're the only
especially in
place
the
that
books.
wasn't taken over
Yeah.
by
They
the
have-
original dragons.
We get the Sons of the Harpy stuff, which I felt I just didn't care about, and I don't know if I was the only one. Apparently not, because people apparently don't like season 5 at all.
Sparrow, we got the religious stuff. Not big on that either.
Arya mops a lot of
Okay.
floors, and that was
Oh
exciting,
my God,
right?
Arya's training was so fucking boring. I thought it was gonna be really cool,
It
but
was
you
towards
know
the
they
end.
tried to subvert our expectations with
Yeah.
that. But
And then the show is just taking a nosedive, but it finishes actually pretty strong because at the end of season 5 we do get Hardhome,
Yep.
but it's not enough for me to just say, man, this season was good. Like, this season was terrible. It was absolutely terrible until the end. Because at the
it
end,
ends very strong.
Stannis,
Stannis
this thing. We've got
Stannis.
we got Hardhome. I mean, and then
Dany rode the dragons for the first time.
Ollie is an asshole and betrays John, and
Yeah.
so like there's some good stuff at the end,
Yeah.
but the entire season, if I'm telling someone which episodes to skip, it's like the first 3/4 of season 5, just skip it. You'll miss
Yeah.
nothing, and then just move on.
Yeah, we
Great.
get the shot. We get John's death. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 6,
He was-
immediately right away they revive him.
Mm-hmm.
But it ends and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That was a good
But
cliffhanger.
getting there was
It was a rough season for me to get through.
mixed. Let's go ahead and give our mixed. My mixed is seasons 2 and 7.
Mine are 7 and 2.
All right.
I had 5 and 7.
5 and 7. So we all
Yeah.
agree on 7. What was going on in 7? This is obviously D&D's material. They have notes, obviously, from George R. R. Martin, but
And from Michael Bay.
and Michael Bay.
They went away from all the story and went all to the spectacle. And everyone's got plot armor, and
This is where we start to see a lot of plot armor.
yeah, no one can die,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they go like big ice dragons,
It was
and there's all the
cool.
White Walkers. They blow up the loot train. Really cool
Oh
looking
no!
stuff.
It starts amazing.
Yeah.
Let's not confuse. Season 6 has the phrase. There's Arya's huge payoff.
Yeah.
Right.
Where
and
she proves that she's a cool mass murderer who can just take the face of somebody and then properly do a whole bunch of damage and
obliterate a whole house in revenge.
Yeah.
in one fell swoop.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the Lannister army getting destroyed by the dragon. Dany actually doing stuff and
She fights the White Walkers.
getting some battles. But then you've got weak episodes.
I mean, even those episodes themselves were really weak. It was really fun to watch, but there was no substance to them whatsoever. It felt like a completely different series that I was watching. I loved watching all the characters get together. There's a lot of quips. They're walking through, the north. It's like, this Brienne Tara, she's a real ball buster,
Oh,
and she,
yeah.
I'm gonna have
You want
giant babies with her, and everything's been great. That's funny, but it has nothing to do with what's happening in the show. And I wanted more. Like, we're wrapping up the story.
They did the Avengers too, and
Yeah.
they're flying all across the map. Their time and space makes no difference here. Benjen comes back for like half a second,
2 seconds.
2 seconds. It's
Oh.
like what the hell, and then he gets the worst heroic death I've ever seen on screen.
Poor guy.
Like he kills like 2 White Walkers, maybe, but they could have let him kill like 10 and made it so
Yeah.
awesome. It's like
Nah,
you don't
it's
need to
fine,
just
don't
get
worry.
on the horse with it and everything.
The horse
No,
would be too slow.
idiot,
His
so
entire
stupid.
goal of being resurrected was so he could save his little nephew.
Right, and
then send them off.
Gendry running.
Runs so far. Tormund rides a dragon and forgets that he rides a dragon. That's great. Remember that? Remember that one time?
So
Because
wait,
he
does
doesn't
that make him a madman?
Yeah, because he doesn't remember himself riding a dragon. They all get on the dragon and then fly away, and he's like,
Tormund meant like controlling a dragon, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, so that was what about 2? Season 2.
She kind of covered.
Mix.
She covered 2. 2 is
right.
It's just a setup season.
Okay,
gotcha. It's only things that kind of pertain to the entire season.
And I think,
like,
and it's a lot of Catelyn
show.
Stark, and I think she's terribly written.
Literally one of the worst characters.
Yeah, I'm emotional. I'm gonna make all the wrong decisions, and I'm not gonna think about anything. I'm not gonna listen to any advisors. I'm gonna go with my gut and cause all my kids to die. And I was thrilled when she died.
Opposite of Cersei. Cersei's a fucking badass.
Yes.
Yeah.
She does everything to make sure that her
Miss Stark
children will be fine.
was a dumbass.
I loved when she died.
Good, excellent, great seasons. Good and great seasons. Mine are 1 and 4.
I had 1 and 4 too.
All right, high five.
High five.
1 and 4.
1 and 4.
1 and
We
4.
unanimously agree.
Had wonderful setups in the first season. We got the dragons. We had Ned, who was one of the coolest characters of everything. And then 4 was
political intrigue.
It really got you interested in the entire thing, and you're like, I can't wait for the
Baratheon
second
Robert. The friendship, and then sort of Ned being a fish out of water and realizing the way shit really works over here in King's Landing.
Yeah.
It's great.
It was
I was like,
awesome.
this show is going to be interesting. And boom, at the end, what I thought was going to be one of the main characters, because I've never read the books, never heard about anything.
Nope.
My favorite character, head comes right off. I'm like, what the
Bam.
fuck?
Yeah. You weren't expecting that.
No.
Nobody was expecting that. And that's one of the reasons why Game of Thrones will always be one of those TV shows that people should go watch.
And honestly, I was like, I'm not going to watch. And it was hard to
You
get
were
through that
upset.
season 2 because it doesn't really help you when
it
it comes
doesn't.
back. But boy, it's worth sticking through.
All right, and then season 4, we had the Red Wedding. We had Joffrey's murder. We had
Purple Wedding.
Purple Wedding, yeah. The Purple Wedding's in there. Joffrey dies.
Such a good villain, Joffrey.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that
That's
actor
a
did
good
such
And
an
just,
amazing job.
I'm sure everybody cheered just like I did when he just smothered to death. And you're like, that was appropriate. I like that.
Tyrion helps kill him. Tyrion then goes on to
Tyrion
kill
did
his
not
father.
help kill him. It was all the Lady of Highgarden. It was all Madame Olenna.
Yeah,
Orlena?
I want to tell Cersei it was me.
Tell her
it was but also Littlefinger claimed.
Yeah,
that he
Littlefinger
helped.
had. So
I don't think he
he
had
provided the necklace.
Oh, okay.
And so
That's
like one of the 4 was good, but there were some problems with 4, and that's why I think that 1 for me will be ranked higher than 4. 4 has some really tough scenes. Like we've got the Jaime raping Cersei scene on the corpse of their son. Super awkward and kind of unnecessary. Wasn't how it was in the story. The actors didn't agree, and D&D's like, nope.
You rape her.
That's
like,
your
what the
child.
fuck? Yeah.
Have sex with her on top. It's like, but she's saying no. It's like, don't care. That's what I like.
And I mean, it makes no sense. Cersei loves her children, and so does Jaime. I don't understand.
he
He just
did.
wanted to get his dick fucking wet. I
Maybe
don't
he
fucking
wanted
know.
a power play.
That's
We
weird.
honestly, I'm not sure.
Shay was another a character I think was done dirty in this season because Shay had a really interesting dynamic with Tyrion. They care about each other obviously quite a bit, but she's not a stupid person. She's a very intelligent person that understands how the Game of Thrones works. It shouldn't have been a surprise that Tyrion gets married to
He's
Sansa.
forced to be married
And
to
then
Sansa.
he's told her, it's like, look, this is not what I want. I'm being forced to do it. We haven't consummated the marriage. None of this stuff is happening. And she freaks out because it was important to the story for her to freak out. I just didn't buy it.
Yeah, but these are small things. I really think
They
that
are.
was just a great.
But
I mean,
again-
Viper and Mountain fight,
Yeah.
Wildling battle, Ygritte dies. That's all really great in season 4, and why it makes it good. And some of the
It's
best
up there,
seasons,
yeah.
or good seasons, great seasons. What about our best?
6
This
and
is
3.
Excellent. 6 and 3.
I'm at 3 and then 6.
I'm at 3 and then 6.
All right.
We
whatever.
are in unanimous agreement here. So, obviously, what about 6? Let's start with 6. 6 is the Battle of the Bastards.
Yep.
We get a little bit of the origin of the White Walkers. We get Hodor.
Hold the door. Okay, I don't know about the rest of you. I've literally watched that episode 2-3 times, And every single
good.
time I'm like, I'm not going to cry. And then I'm just sitting there sobbing. He's making fun of me. And it's just like, how are you this cold-hearted? You're not crying.
Because I've seen
And
it
that's
before.
not
I love
something
it.
that D&D came up with. That
No.
has to be a George
They were
R.R.
still
His
getting
name
notes.
is Hodor from the entire time. And it's one of those things that was, again, makes this series such a great series is they started that from the very beginning. The second you meet Hodor, you're like, I wonder. And then they prove it to you.
Yeah.
It's hold the door.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great season. Things kind of really get going. It sets everything up for what's going to be the final act of the series, and everything was
like crosses the sea.
everything's
right at
on the
beginning.
upswing. I'm excited. Everything's ready to go. I mean, we know that they shit the bed, but things were
Potential was wide.
It was
open.
really good. There was some slow parts in season 6, but there was.
John is a Targaryen. We pretty much realized that towards the end. They confirmed that huge fan theory. And, just showing you that you don't always want to subvert expectations. Just because the fans know something's coming doesn't mean
That
change
it doesn't have to come. Yeah.
So where it doesn't make sense,
Yep.
George R.R. Martin himself said that. It's like, if I set this up, why would
Yara
they change it?
Dany met, and then Dany got her entire fleet to sail across the sea to Westeros and everything. That was a real cool thing.
But the best season television, according to me and Alex, would be season 3. Well, I thought you said
You
6
said 6
and
then
3.
3.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to specify.
Okay,
No.
so 3 and 6 then.
3 and 6.
Because obviously, this is what I would give a 10 out of 10 to. 10
Yeah.
out of 10
Yeah.
rating season 3. Red Wedding. So much happens. We're talking prime, good dialogue. This is Tyrion being Tyrion. This is, just so many great scenes in season 3. And really changing the face of television, telling hey, it's okay to kill these characters. And I think other series now know that, and we can get, some shock and some unpredictability.
I love the fact that it wasn't just one big character. It was pretty much almost an entire house that was murdered in that.
Well, it's like one thing that makes Game of Thrones kind of special is Game of Thrones is not character centric. It's supposed to be world centric, right?
Yeah.
It's stuff happens, the characters die, not because, and it's fine that you thought that they were the main character. The main character is Westeros.
Right.
It's the going on of everything around it.
Right.
And so what happened is this is still at the part where the realm is what is important, and it's not the characters. It's not any of the Starks. It's how does all these moving pieces work, and how does it influence everything around it. And so I really like that. And that's why season 3 is so strong. And that's why one of the reasons why season 7 and season 8 are so weak, because the realm doesn't matter anymore. It's all about what are these individual characters doing. We give them all plot armor because we have to, because the characters are the only thing we've got.
They have to get to a certain end point.
Yeah.
D&D are rushing to that end point because they want to peace out.
Yeah, so I think season 3 we've got the Red Wedding, we've got Brienne and Jamie's friendship, which was really important.
Bath scene,
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
good.
and then nothing. Jon Snow was something that was really important.
Forever remembered.
The Tyrells show up, and they end up being hugely important to the story.
Love the Tyrells.
Yep. Yep.
Love the old grandma lady.
Oh yeah, she
yeah,
was great.
she was one of my favorite characters. for sure.
Powerhouse, you
You-
know, just
you
like
tell.
Tywin. You
Yeah.
know, she
Oh,
can
yeah.
trade blows with, like, one of the only ones that could trade blows with Tywin. So
Yeah.
really good, really good. Next week. So that's kind of how we've ranked the Game of Thrones season. If y'all want to do the same, give me 2 seasons under each one of those categories. Just the excellent seasons, the best of the best. Then you got your good seasons, you got your mixed seasons, and you got your bad seasons. If you want to throw those in the comments.
The poop seasons.
Yeah. So Game of Thrones. Man, this on a whole, I want to go ahead and give a final verdict to the overall franchise. And what I'm doing is, and I'm not saying total franchise, I'm talking about television franchise.
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about HBO television. We're not talking about the books. So you have to include the execution of the ending. You have to include some of the sagging and then the storytelling there. So let's begin. One of you guys go. What would you give it out of 10?
8.
8.
I
Okay.
would, a solid 8, because I don't think any TV show has done what they have done. I would definitely go back and rewatch it. And if somebody asked me, I'd tell them, hey, the ending wasn't the best that it could have been, but throughout the entire thing, it was a great journey, and I
Great
really
journey.
enjoyed it.
Great journey.
Great journey.
Yeah, I mean, this is we haven't seen television with this level of production ever, and I don't know, other than maybe the Lord of the Rings coming up or some of the spinoffs, we might not for a really long time. Like this is so far above what we're used to that it's truly incredible. But there was also there was a lot of other things that go along with it. Like if someone's like, all right, there's the hype for Game of Thrones is through the roof. Should I jump into it? And my answer would probably be no, not for a while. Like this is something that you need to let people like the meme train needs to slow down a little bit before you get in there. You're gonna have everyone that's just so sensational about like, oh, it's the worst television ever written and everything's horrible, because they have that flavor of shit in their mouth still, and it's hard to get over that. So sure. I think it's really good television, and it irks me. It would have been 9 out of 10 for me if they hadn't screwed up the ending. But it definitely loses a whole point, if not 2 points, for ending the way that it did.
No, I agree. That was difficult for me to factor because there are moments where I wanted to give a 10 out of 10 to it.
Yeah.
But I think the execution of that final season really hurt. So that's negative 1 point there for the final season, season 8, and then negative 1 point for some of the faltering throughout the seasons,
like ghost babies and
shadow babies. Why didn't we use that multiple times? Things like that. So it's an 8 out of 10. But what's so weird about it is this 8 out of 10 is superior to all other 8 out of 10s.
Yeah.
If I can find a way to articulate that and say that, I think it's among some of the best television. What I'll do is I'll give it a badass seal of approval, not the ending.
Just as a whole.
As a whole.
Yeah.
The HBO television series, a badass seal of approval, with that huge asterisk at the end of D&D just absolutely failing to stick that landing.
Well, so, I mean,
that is so important.
We talk about critics all the time. It's like, what if we're watching an Olympic routine? You watch someone on, like, the balance beam. They do something amazing. It's amazing 80% through, and then they go to stick the landing and they fall on their face. Do they get an 8 out of 10?
No. Do they get the gold medal? No.
They don't get the gold medal. And so it's really hard to rank this because it's people screwing up the ending's a really big deal.
Oh, yeah.
People.
That's why I knocked off.
Especially,
that's why we're at 8 out of 10 when this thing can hit 10 out of 10.
And they were offered enough time to do what should have been done.
Yeah.
And that was the other big thing that we saw was you had an opportunity.
Thinking about that can make me go lower than that.
It's okay.
Because it just feels like these guys literally wanted to be done with and take off and do their Star Wars. And honestly, all those amazing people, those people that are so good at their craft, the makeup artists, the the actors, the production
everybody
team,
involved.
Yeah. We're not crapping on them when we're talking about all this stuff. D&D kind of did that in the sense that it didn't give the thing enough time to resolve.
An actual quote, which was quite properly done, where somebody was complaining about the filming time, and they were like, "This is all D&D's fault," and you can just kind of take that as a point. Of reference.
In the documentary,
it's a
director.
It's a direct quote too.
Yeah, there's some juicy bits that I'm sure many YouTubers will cut up and and I could do it later if I in a top 10 worst.
Bits.
HBO or Game of Thrones television moments, because there are quite a few. We could talk about some of them now that bring the show down. But overall, I still think it's an excellent television show. It really changed the landscape. Shows that it's okay to kill your main characters.
Yeah,
I think that really
opens up a whole new adventure
some stuff
to things.
Exactly.
And as long as it's financially successful, it'll encourage other people to spend money. Like we're already seeing, which I worry about, Amazon spending almost $1 billion on Lord of the Rings, and so
they want their own Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
and their CEO has said that.
If they raise the bar, that's nothing but good for us as consumers, as long as people put in the effort to make it work. But I also worry because Twilight was successful, and then we got 1,000 vampire everything, and now I don't like vampires anymore because they sparkle and it's like teenagers, vampire people, and he's 400 but she's 16 and it's not wrong. Like what?
I'm
what is
also
this?
a little afraid because Lord of the Rings did so well, and then we got The Hobbit.
Yeah,
and I don't know about you guys, but I hated the Hobbit series.
Yeah, it was really bad.
And
well, I'm thinking that in this case, in Game of Thrones case, there's nothing but good to take away from it. There's no sparkling vampires in Game of Thrones. There's no, and Lord of the Rings, honestly, it was Guillermo del Toro's fault.
Yeah, he disappeared.
Being a bit of a dick there and being a little selfish.
Still allowed to be grumpy.
Yeah, and with Game of Thrones, I think the lessons are all positive. You know, more mature storytelling, dialogue that's fascinating to watch and listen to, killing off main characters for shocks. It's only and then now it's also a cautionary tale of if you are going to lead to more nihilistic endings or character turns or trying to tell people that, you know, things don't always end in a happy ending, or they don't always end the way that you want them to, or people don't change. All these kinds of nihilistic things, you got to execute it a little bit better, and you got to give weight and time to these things so the characters can deal with it. We're just doing one episode after the other of wrap up, done does not work.
No.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things, like, we learned a lot of really good things about Game of Thrones, but there are things that, if not executed well, doesn't work. Yeah. Like, having main characters kind of die off screen is something that people could try to do in this that is unsatisfying and I wouldn't like. People just Game of Thrones used to be about nudity. Like, people love the fact we used to have a booby count. There was all sorts of things. And there are other people that, if given a little bit less money and then don't have the good source material to write, I could see really horrible, not direct spin-offs, but things where, like, I want our own fantasy. We'll do The Wizard of Oz, but Dorothy gets naked. It's like, I don't want that at all.
No.
Please stop it.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if it leads to worse things. I think it'll lead to better things.
Fingers crossed.
Maybe because I am kind of excited about the Game of Thrones prequel. Now, you would think that, you know, Joe, you would learn your lesson and, you talk so much crap about the ending of Game of Thrones. Well, that's because that's the mainline series, and it was hurried and rushed.
It deserved a proper ending, and that's what we didn't get. Like, please give us something that was at least sort of satisfying.
The reason why I'm excited about the nuns is because we could get the proper ending. They saw the fallout from that. They're like, we're going to make sure to give it its time. I even hear that they're considering bigger budgets than this original Game of Thrones, which could lead, if they bring on some of the staff, makeup team, props, location people, it could be even better. They're at the top of their craft, which, by the way, I like that location lady in the documentary.
Oh, yeah, she cussed in every single sentence. We were waiting for it. It was like, when are you going to do it?
We fucking love her.
Yeah.
She is of our ilk. Yeah, so the legacy of Game of Thrones is still strong. I mean, I want to go and play the board game and, try to conquer people. You say the board game's not very good, but maybe we could make a board game. Maybe we could, and then more things will evolve from this.
Game of Thrones board game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of different things you do, or maybe even a board game based on the prequels. If they go to, back in the day with the great houses, there was 100 houses at one point, or that's what they call it.
The true Aegon Targaryen conquering the world. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, or the Aegon Targaryen invasion of Westeros, right? Yeah, that would be sweet. I think they have said that they're not going to do the, Baratheon rebellion or anything like that. But it will be interesting to see what time period this is and how many resources and talent they go into these prequels. So I'm excited about that. But, yeah. All right. That's pretty much it from what I'm thinking. 8 out of 10. The show has achieved 10 out of 10 multiple times. And it has faltered. But overall, one of the better television shows. Now, before it ended, I was thinking Game of Thrones is going to be my favorite. My favorite, television series and my favorite fantasy series. By the end, it face planted and it didn't become that.
Yeah.
For me, Lord of the Rings is still above it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's give where would you rank, say, the top 3 fantasy franchises of all time, Erica?
How do you feel about Harry Potter?
Harry Potter is fantasy.
Forever,
I can see that.
In my own little world, Harry Potter will be one of my favorite fantasies of all times. I love Lord of the Rings. The original 3. I've literally spent nights and nights watching the whole 3 series, or the extended director's cut editions, and every time you always get hyped, and no matter how many times you see it, you'll never be disappointed in it.
Right.
So I think I'll put it just below the 2 because Harry Potter ended it in a way that was completely satisfying. Even all of the movies were very well done. They took their time with it. They had a point where this is where we execute it, and they did it perfectly. So it goes Lord of the Rings, not with The Hobbit. F you, Del Toro.
Different.
But you can't. It's so hard to say. Well, if we're talking about like fantasy worlds, like the Hobbit movies are
part of that.
Well,
We're not.
okay.
Do we get to cut him out?
If you want to go
It's a
with the
different
Hobbit,
trilogy.
we can still go with the original Hobbit that they did, the cartoon
the
version.
Leonard Nimoy
Oh my
one?
gosh, that was terrifying as a child to watch, especially with Gollum.
So Lord of the Rings.
Lord of
and
the
then
Rings,
Harry
Potter, and then
Game of Thrones.
Thrones.
Third.
Yeah.
Wow, it fell. What about you?
I'm at Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. If we don't include
No,
Oh.
Star Wars is
not-
fantasy.
No, it's sci-fi. I'm
talked
categorized.
about
I
that
am
earlier,
forcing
too.
you to cut out Star Wars and save that for
But
our
it-
fantasy sci-fi
but
franchises.
it's fantasy.
It is fantasy. You're right. Okay, I will make
fantasy.
admission that you're right, but I'm removing it. Not allowed.
That's why I didn't bring it up.
I don't know. Harry Potter's fine. I like Game of Thrones better than I like Harry Potter. The problem, like, there's issues with Harry Potter just because it's one, I wasn't reading it. I read it and was exposed to it much later, so I just didn't care all that as much. Harry Potter uses one spell. He only learned one spell the entire time he was at Hogwarts. Really?
Was it Lumos?
What?
The light up spell.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I would rather watch Game of Thrones. I'll just fast forward through the other parts than watching Harry Potter. So
For me, it is Lord of the Rings #1, Harry Potter #2, and like you, I would say Game of Thrones #3, but it is solid #3. And it's hard because there's really not that much pure sort of fantasy franchises. We're talking taking out Star Wars. Can we even get to a top 5? I thought about it, and you could technically include Pirates of the Caribbean as a
Ugh,
franchise.
no, I
Hey,
wouldn't.
I like
Like
it. I like
two-
it.
I like
two
one
of
of the
them?
movies.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Hobbit earlier. That could be up in there.
No.
Willow. Willow's amazing.
Willow,
yeah, I did
right?
love that.
What else?
There's not a
And then
lot.
there's some good television shows recently with knights and stuff like that. But yeah, I would definitely.
Krull.
No. So yeah, I go 1, 2, 3, and Game of Thrones is third,
Yeah.
which is surprising because I really thought that this would be my
Oh, yeah,
favorite.
same here.
And as far as television shows, it's not my favorite television
It
show.
tripped at the finish line.
I thought it would be my favorite television show. Not my favorite. My favorite, Star Trek. 100%
Next
still
gen?
Star Trek.
TNG.
Next gen.
With Will
Fuck,
Wheaton?
even the original as well. There's Star Trek Next Generation, the original. I just love Star Trek so much. And then probably Breaking Bad and then Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Because Breaking Bad stuck the landing, and
need to
it was
go back
excellent.
Yeah.
And it's worth watching again. And like I said, Game of Thrones, like you said, you would probably fast forward through some episodes.
Yeah, but
or
I definitely
seasons.
rewatch 'em.
Seasons, say
Yeah.
season 5, in particular. But
Season
yeah,
2.
that's where it ends up for us. All right, guys, this is our sort of final breakdown. So I guess let's go ahead and
Oh wait, we taking
toast.
the poops?
No poops. you want to toast your poop?
Fine.
Let's toast to Game of Thrones, to all the hard work from the production crew.
Thank you all.
And the actors and D&D for the first 4, 5 seasons, and then fuck you as you walk out the door. So yeah,
Well, one more toast. We got to thank Stardust for helping us do all
Yes.
this. I mean, this is super important.
Yep.
definitely. Thank you, Stardust, for helping us put together these episodes, guys. Go check out Stardust right now. Download the app. Follow us at AngryJoeShow, and that will help support the show. I think for each follow we get $1. It helps us make all these episodes. And honestly, I'm looking forward to the future of television. I think that the Disney Plus service has me most excited for The Mandalorian. That, I think, is going to be my new favorite.
I'm more excited about the Winter Soldier and Falcon than I was because it's only going to be a 6-part series. They're not going to do it where
Ooh,
they're doing
interesting.
20 episodes, 30 minutes where I don't care.
All of these are not seasons.
Yeah.
They are actually sort of
Shorts.
little shorts or
Yeah.
one-off series,
which is great.
which makes us a little more excited for it. So we're looking forward to that, and we can engage on that on the Stardust app. So go check it out. Thank you, Stardust, for doing that. And yeah, guess that's it. Our watch has finally ended. It's such a bittersweet thing because literally, that's the best. I want everybody to go out there, and I know this is green. I don't know if you can see it because of the green screen, but this is perfect. Perfect analogy is that who put shit in my ice cream?
Alex did.
Like, ice cream is so.
I made that for you.
He did.
So delicious. You did make this shit. Yeah.
You need to put the pictures up there on one of the sites because those
on
look
Stardust, it's
very
like,
realistic.
Take a look at this poop. We made a season 8 for you.
Oh,
Well, now
wait.
it just looks like mint chocolate chip.
I won the Deadpool.
Oh,
Fun
shit.
fact.
We forgot. Okay.
Yeah, because it didn't matter, and we
Deadpool.
hated it.
It mattered
Well,
to me.
Well, I know you won. You won, and it's great. But
I would have been bragging like a
Hell
motherfucker,
yeah.
too, if I won.
I think
I
we
won
s-
by 1 point.
Yeah.
It is tough because once that long night hit, episode, what was it, 3?
Yep.
3.
We had no idea.
Shit flew out
Well,
the
I
fucking
stopped
window.
caring because
Right.
it's like, wait, who died and who didn't die?
Yeah.
And
I don't
how
care
didn't
anymore.
you die?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it surprised us because this was one series that didn't really succumb to the plot armor crap that we've
Yeah.
seen, in a lot
We
of other
definitely
shows.
expected a whole bunch of people to die. Like our board was filled up with just check marks of you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die.
Well, season 7 was the season where plot armor was
That
like
started
fully
happening.
engaged.
Came back,
like
yeah.
Jamie charging a dragon in full plate mail, and he gets tackled into a river,
All of
and
our
he sinks
favorite-
all the way to the bottom. And you're like, oh, he's dead because he's wearing full plate. He's gonna drown. Nope.
All of our favorite people ending up in the true north trying to against
like
the
one
entire
person
the army,
dies?
and they weren't even a named
Yeah.
character. Oh,
Yeah.
And a bear
No,
kills him.
Yeah.
Barrick,
Yeah.
but that didn't really count.
or Lord, it's one of them.
Doran
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
something.
something like
The
that.
guy who kept bringing Sir
Yeah.
Barrick back. Or whatever.
Hey, if you're gonna die, getting killed by an undead polar bear is
That's-
pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Oh, we want a fucking polar bear.
We did
Oh, I
get an
know.
undead
I
polar
hate
bear.
that they lobbied over for 4 seasons before HBO was like, fine, you can do an undead polar bear. You
Really?
big idiot. Yeah, they wanted one starting in season 3 or 4.
And that's one of the
Got
reasons
it.
we didn't get the elephants.
It sucks
Yeah.
because we, you could see it if you go back and watch our episode 1 and episode 2 reviews of season 8. We were scared.
hyped.
We were scared. We were hyped. We were excited, but we were like, man, what happens if they fuck it up?
yeah.
And they fucked
And
it
they
up.
fucked it all up.
They done fucked it
Well,
up.
they fucked it
This
up.
will go down in television history, in premium history, that of one of the worst landings, one of the worst
Agreed.
endings that really hurts and tarnishes it, and it's so good that it still only ends up an 8 out of 10, which is pretty damn good
Yeah.
for me, with a badass seal of approval with that huge asterisk for that last season. Right, because I'm still holding hope that can be, I don't know.
It can't be fixed.
It
What's
can't- you're right.
done
It
is
not
done.
gonna
can't
do
be
it,
fixed.
yeah.
I might have
It's
to
all
remove
over.
my badass seal of approval.
No,
if I sleep
it
on
was
that.
worth seeing.
Yeah,
it
it is
truly
worth-
was. This
yeah.
changed all of what TV's gonna do for the foreseeable future.
As long as it's a cautionary tale, and other
Yes.
people right now who are aspiring writers are going, oh, I
That's-
can't fuck up the ending.
Right.
And as long as we save one series based on this, I don't think it'll be worth it. But I mean, it helps. It helps me sleep at night a little bit.
All right. Well, that's it for us, guys. Thank you all so much for watching all these episodes. We really appreciate it. Hope this was therapeutic for those of you who, like us, thought it ended poorly. And for those that enjoyed the ending and thought it was great all the way through, hey, great. More power to you. And, all right. Well, that's it. And we'll see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys. If you want us to, come back and review another television series, let us know which television series you want, and we'll look into it. I think The Mandalorian is probably the best choice, but we'll see. Check out the comments, and see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.